everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Champions Spotlight. I am your host, Dr. Meghan Bruan, and the creator of the Raise Your Game program, which is a physical, mental, nutritional, and goal-setting program that helps you become a champion in life. So we have another champion in life today. We have Grant Parr. He is a mental performance coach, author, and podcast host of the podcast called 90% Mental. So Grant, thank you for being here. Always a pleasure. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on here on the Spotlight.
Yeah.
I can't wait to share a little bit about my journey and kind of what I do with athletes and performers. It's been a really, really cool road up until this point. So.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about what you do? You're out in California, probably enjoying the weather.
Yeah, actually the weather is beautiful right now. I've been later in life. I found my passion about 6 years ago. In my 40s, I went back to school to get my master's in sports psychology, and been running my practice for the last 5 or 6 years. Been working with athletes, teams, coaches. I also call them corporate athletes, which are executives, and sales organizations, by providing mental skills training. So basically, whether it's individual or in a team setting, I'm teaching people how to get into their breath, mindfulness techniques, how to focus and refocus. A lot of it is starting with the breath. A lot of it is meditation. A lot of it is energy work. I think when we can really tap into our energy and our breath, I'm teaching the athlete or the performer to truly learn how to be in the moment and not really get in front of themselves. I call it pre-living, or thinking about the future, or past living. Things are in the past. Getting them really in the moment by getting into their breath and really activating their energy.
That's awesome. And I think, for such a long time, athletes have just been so focused on physical, right? They're just like, I have to train more. I have to practice more. I have to do more reps. And now I think it's a great time to be an athlete. I wish this kind of stuff was around when I was playing college sports, but it's really awesome to get into the whole mindset of things. And like you said, the breath, we focus on breath when we're lifting, when we're doing physical activity. Why not when we're doing mental activity? So I think that's really cool, the stuff that you're doing.
Absolutely. And I think right now, I wrote a blog recently on, especially with the time that we're going through, focusing on the word connection, or actually connect. I think right now is a great time to connect with ourselves, connect with our craft, connect with our mental strategy or plan, physical plan or strategy. Really connect and take the time right now to get ahead. Because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of athletes that I've seen they're kind of treating this kind of like a vacation, if you will, and they're not really taking the opportunity to really hone in on their skills. And also, through all the stuff that's going on outside of connecting with yourself, really focus on connection with people, like people that feed you. Because right now there's just a lot of negativity, and I understand why. There's a lot of uncertainty. So if we can take care of that connection with ourselves and people around us, we're taking care of our energy and our mindset.
Awesome. So with that, can you tell us a little bit about your mission, kind of behind your brand and your business and what you do?
My mission, it's interesting. There's such a long game to it because I'm committed to this work. But because I teach people to be in the present, being in the now, that my mission is my energy, to be honest with you. My energy is my offering. And if I can work with athletes, teams, coaches, teams, like, sales organizations, or even just organizations in the corporate world, if I can teach them to be better versions of themselves, if I can teach them to trust themselves and be vulnerable and allow themselves to understand the importance of connecting their thoughts and their emotions, and just being their most alive self. If I can do that's kind of my vision. It's I try to keep it simple, but I think where it starts is my energy, and really truly understanding how to take care of it, offer my energy, receive energy, and then impact people's lives.
Yeah, and with that energy, it's very, very difficult to be a champion in anything, whether it's sports, whether it's, like you said, your executives, what did you call them?
corporate athletes.
Yeah, your corporate athletes. It's really hard to be a champion in any of those realms when you don't have that self energy, when you are all the time feeling everyone else's energy or absorbing their energy, and just always have that attitude like, oh, I don't want to be around people, or people are draining me, or whatever it is. It's super important, and that all goes into the mental aspect of things. I don't think that you can separate those two, like, okay, you're just mentally focused, but you're not thinking about your energy, more of, less than just muscle energy, right? Versus your whole soul, mental, physical, all of it. It's all encompassing, right?
Big time. And I love the word champion because I ask this question a lot to mainly like younger athletes, youth, high school. Do you have to be a champion, or do you have to experience a championship to be a champion? And no, like, it's being a champion is a mindset. And I think when you can really truly understand, if you're connected to your craft and you're honoring the process, that's what champions do. So you are a champion. And I think I heard a great quote recently about our energy and our emotions, that emotions and energy are like fire, right? Fire is energy. If you don't take care of it, you're either gonna burn down your house, or you're gonna cook some food, right?
Yeah, true.
Right. So, and I love that because it totally makes sense. If we're taking care of our energy, then we're going to allow ourselves to have a championship mindset. It's really hard to be a champion or have that mindset if you're not dialed in and you're not connected to your energy. So it all correlates. They all interconnect. But I think, and I love it that you named this, the champion spotlight. Uh,
Spotlight, yep.
yeah. Because man, like, we're all champions. We just got to tap into it and trust it and believe in it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole purpose of this, this series, is I want to bring knowledge to people, and in a little bit of time you can just listen to this champion, and their mindset might be completely different than this champion over here, but they're still champion in their own regard. So I think it's awesome. I'm glad you're here to talk with us, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. Can you share with us a couple words of encouragement, or things that, in your mind, give you that champion mindset and motivation?
I think, always what comes up for me is be willing to play a big game. I talk a lot about this, and what does that mean, and what does it look like? And allow yourself not to play a small and narrow game. I did that too long throughout my life. And when I realized that there's this bigger energy out there than myself called the universe, that if I put out my goals, if I put out my vulnerability of these are the things that I want out of my career, or these are the things that I want out of my performance, the more that you can actually trust that and see it and feel what that game looks like, what the energy comes back at you is tenfold. Like I've experienced, I've seen people that I've coached, people that I've worked with, and other people, that if you allow yourself to play a big game, you're going to reap the benefits if you're open to it. Now, if you're going to be open to it, now you have to be vulnerable, and that can be very tough. But
Yeah.
and we know with Brene Brown and a lot of other researchers that when you allow yourself, in short, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you are actually in the moment being courageous. And then when you're being courageous, then you're being brave. I don't know about you, but if I'm playing a big game and I'm courageous and brave, that allows me to be vulnerable, or either way, how you look at it, that's where I want to be. And if I can coach people and inspire people to get into that vulnerable spot, and it's not necessarily vulnerable like with your emotions of sharing. I mean, it is like sharing what's going on within you, but it's also being vulnerable with your play, or playing, or vulnerable with your performance. Like when stuff is not going well, are you still going to be vulnerable and trust yourself and all the training you put yourself through, and trust yourself and be vulnerable? So if you can get to that point, you're going to allow yourself to stay on track. You're going to stay in your lane. You're going to keep on moving where you want to go. More often than not, when you're not vulnerable and when you're not playing a big game, you're not going to go that far.
Yeah, and I think that's a valid point too, talking about that vulnerability and actually trusting yourself enough to know that I've trained for this moment, or I've worked hard for this moment, or I've mentally prepared for this moment, whatever it is. I think oftentimes athletes forget about all the training that they did to get to that point, when in reality, that's why they did all the training, and then they get to it and they're just like so freaked out that they can't even, do what they need to do.
More often than not, there was, and I'll make this story quick, but I was working with a football team, a really, really good football team, and they were playing at the time one of the best in the country. Usually they are number one in the country. And we were practicing all summer long to get prepared for the very first game, and it was against them. And so everyone was getting pumped. They're like, man, we're getting playing De La Salle, man. We're getting to play De La Salle, right? Soon as De La Salle walks in front of them, because they walk like soldiers, everybody walks, in the same unison, like left, right. They're all holding hands. They look big, they look fierce, and you can just see it. Like they like, oh shit. Like, and they completely forgot about how good they are, and all the hard work they got them. So they got caught into that energy, and they got out of focus. So that's why it's really important too, to learn how to refocus, because into 2020, our attention span's about 6 or 7 seconds, and then we get out of focus, right?
Yep.
So if we know that, then I think words of encouragement is to learn how to actually adopt some refocusing strategies to get back into the moment. And one of them for me is the win mindset. What's important now? So when you know that there's self-awareness where you're out of focus or you're procrastinating, to get back into focus, if you can ask yourself, what's important right now, which is the win mindset. I don't care what the result is. If you can do that and act on it in the moment, you're winning. And that's the win mindset. So that's a good refocusing strategy. So, but it's interesting. You see a lot of athletes, they forget, like, man, you've been playing this sport for 13 years. And in the moment, you forgot how awesome you were and all the hard work, right?
Yeah. It's all, when we get into that comparison type mindset, that's where we lose a lot of that focus, where you stop focusing on the things that you've done to get to where you are, and you start focusing on like, well, this person has done that. So it's hard sometimes as an athlete, but there's a lot of great resources out there for athletes, people like yourself that everyone can contact and get to know a little bit. And you have a book as well, right? So tell us a little bit about that book. Is a lot of this in there too?
It is actually. The book is called The Next One Up Mindset, How to Prepare for the Unknown. I'm fascinated on how performers, athletes have gotten prepared for the moment when their number is called. And I'm also fascinated when someone's number was called or the moment had arise, they weren't prepared for it. And not only did it hurt them and their team, but it destroyed their career. And I'm not glorifying that, but what I'm putting in my book is that there's a lot of stories out there, and there's a lot of strategies from a mental performance standpoint that I put in my book that allows you to get prepared for the unknown. We're faced with unknowns and the unexpected every single day. So if we're so present in taking care of the now, that when the future comes towards us, we see it, or we actually meet it, we're meeting it with our breath, with our visualization, with our mantras, with our self-talk, with all these strategies. I can keep on going. But the book talks a lot about how other athletes and performers have used those strategies. And I walk you through kind of my own story, but how I would teach you and some of these things, how you can use them in your everyday life.
Awesome. So can you tell everyone how to get a hold of you, get a hold of that book, follow your podcast, all that good stuff?
Yeah. So everything is on my website, which is gamefaceperformance.com. However, if you want to get my book outside of my website, you can find it on Amazon. 90% Mental is on my website, but it's also on every single podcast platform out there. So you can find it there. And if you want to follow me on social media, I'm on every platform. IG and Twitter is the same handle. It's GFP Mindset. Game Face Performance is Facebook. YouTube is Game Face Performance. There's some other ones out there too, but those are the ones that I'm pretty active on.
All right. Awesome. Well, Grant, thank you so much for being here today. It was a pleasure, as always, to talk to you and kind of collaborate a little bit on, what we're trying to do and get these athletes to do what they got to do on the field and in life, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.